and the weight of the nails was 50 shekels of gold. And he overlaid the upper chambers with gold. And in the most holy house he made 2 cherubim of image work, and overlaid them with gold. And the wings of the cherubim were 20 cubits long, one wing of the one cherub was 5 cubits, reaching to the wall of the house, and the other wing was likewise 5 cubits, reaching to the wing of the other cherub. And one wing of the other cherub was 5 cubits, reaching to the wall of the house, and the other wing was 5 cubits also, joining to the wing of the other cherub. The wings of these cherubim spread themselves forth 20 cubits, and they stood on their feet, and their faces were inward. And he made the veil of blue, and purple, and crimson, and fine linen, and worked cherubim thereon. Also he made before the house 2 pillars of 30 and 5 cubits high, and the capital that was on the top of each of them was 5 cubits. And he made chains, as in the oracle, and put them on the heads of the pillars, and made 100 pomegranates, and put them on the chains. And he reared up the pillars before the temple, one on the right hand, and the other on the left, and called the name of that on the right hand Jachin, and the name of that on the left Boaz. Moreover he made an altar of brass, 20 cubits the length thereof, and 20 cubits the breadth thereof, and 10 cubits the height thereof. Also he made a molten sea of 10 cubits from brim to brim, round in compass, and 5 cubits the height thereof, and a line of 30 cubits did compass it round about. And under it was the similitude of oxen, which did compass it round about, 10 in a cubit, compassing the sea round about. 2 rows of oxen were cast, when it was cast. It stood on 12 oxen, 3 looking toward the north, and 3 looking toward the west, and 3 looking toward the south, and 3 looking toward the east, and the sea was set above on them, and all their hinder parts were inward. And the thickness of it was an handbreadth, and the brim of it like the work of the brim of a cup, with flowers of lilies, and it received and held 3,000 baths. He made also 10 lavers, and put 5 on the right hand, and 5 on the left, to wash in them, such things as they offered for the burnt offering they washed in them, but the sea was for the priests to wash in. And he made 10 candlesticks of gold according to their form, and set them in the temple, 5 on the right hand, and 5 on the left. He made also 10 tables, and placed them in the temple, 5 on the right side, and 5 on the left. And he made 100 basins of gold. Furthermore he made the court of the priests, and the great court, and doors for the court, and overlaid the doors of them with brass. And he set the sea on the right side of the east end, over against the south. And Huram made the pots, and the shovels, and the basins. And Huram finished the work that he was to make for King Solomon for the house of God. To wit, the 2 pillars, and the pommels, and the capitals which were on the top of the 2 pillars, and the 2 wreaths to cover the 2 pommels of the capitals which were on the top of the pillars. And 400 pomegranates on the 2 wreaths, 2 rows of pomegranates on each wreath, to cover the 2 pommels of the capitals which were on the pillars. He made also bases, and lavers made he on the bases. 1 sea, and 12 oxen under it. The pots also, and the shovels, and the meat hooks, and all their instruments, did Huram his father make to King Solomon for the house of the Lord of bright brass. In the plain of Jordan did the king cast them, in the clay ground between Sukkah and Zerdatha. Thus Solomon made all these vessels in great abundance, for the weight of the brass could not be found out. And Solomon made all the vessels that were for the house of God, the golden altar also, and the tables whereon the showbread was set. Moreover the candlesticks with their lamps, that they should burn after the manner before the oracle, of pure gold. And the flowers, and the lamps, and the tongs, made he of gold, and that perfect gold. And the snuffers, and the basins, and the spoons, and the censers, of pure gold, and the entry of the house, the inner doors thereof for the most holy place, and the doors of the house of the temple, were of gold. Thus all the work that Solomon made for the house of the Lord was finished, and Solomon brought in all the things that David his father had dedicated, and the silver, and the gold, and all the instruments, put he among the treasures of the house of God. Then Solomon assembled the elders of Israel, and all the heads of the tribes, the chief of the fathers of the children of Israel, to Jerusalem, to bring up the ark of the covenant of the Lord out of the city of David, which is Zion. Why all the men of Israel assembled themselves to the king in the feast which was in the 7th month. And all the elders of Israel came, and the Levites took up the ark. And they brought up the ark, and the tabernacle of the congregation, and all the holy vessels that were in the tabernacle, these did the priests and the Levites bring up. Also King Solomon, and all the congregation of Israel that were assembled to him before the ark, sacrificed sheep and oxen, which could not be told nor numbered for multitude. And the priests brought in the ark of the covenant of the Lord to his place, to the oracle of the house, into the most holy place, even under the wings of the cherubim. For the cherubim spread forth their wings over the place of the ark, and the cherubim covered the ark and the staves thereof above. And they drew out the staves of the ark, that the ends of the staves were seen from the ark before the oracle, but they were not seen without. And there it is to this day. There was nothing in the ark save the 2 tables which Moses put therein at Horeb, when the Lord made a covenant with the children of Israel, when they came out of Egypt. And it came to pass, when the priests were come out of the holy place, for all the priests that were present were sanctified, and did not then wait by course. Also the Levites which were the singers, all of them of Asaph, of Heman, of Jeduthun, with their sons and their brothers, being arrayed in white linen, having cymbals, and psalteries and harps, stood at the east end of the altar, and with them 120 priests sounding with trumpets. It came even to pass, as the trumpeters and singers were as one, to make one sound to be heard in praising and thanking the Lord, and when they lifted up their voice with the trumpets and cymbals and instruments of music, and praised the Lord, saying, For he is good, for his mercy endures forever, that then the house was filled with a cloud, even the house of the Lord. So that the priests could not stand to minister by reason of the cloud, for the glory of the Lord had filled the house of God. Then said Solomon, The Lord has said that he would dwell in the thick darkness. But I have built an house of habitation for you, and a place for your dwelling forever. And the king turned his face, and blessed the whole congregation of Israel, and all the congregation of Israel stood. And he said, Blessed be the Lord God of Israel, who has with his hands fulfilled that which he spoke with his mouth to my father David, saying, Since the day that I brought forth my people out of the land of Egypt I chose no city among all the tribes of Israel to build an house in, that my name might be there, neither chose I any man to be a ruler over my people Israel. But I have chosen Jerusalem, that my name might be there, and have chosen David to be over my people Israel. Now it was in the heart of David my father to build an house for the name of the Lord God of Israel. But the Lord said to David my father, For as much as it was in your heart to build an house for my name, you did well in that it was in your heart. Notwithstanding you shall not build the house, but your son which shall come forth out of your loins, he shall build the house for my name. The Lord therefore has performed his word that he has spoken, for I am risen up in the room of David my father, and am set on the throne of Israel, as the Lord promised, and have built the house for the name of the Lord God of Israel. And in it have I put the ark, wherein is the covenant of the Lord, that he made with the children of Israel. And he stood before the altar of the Lord in the presence of all the congregation of Israel, and spread forth his hands. For Solomon had made a brazen scaffold of 5 cubits long, and 5 cubits broad, and 3 cubits high, and had set it in the middle of the court, and on it he stood, and kneeled down on his knees before all the congregation of Israel, and spread forth his hands toward heaven. And said, O Lord God of Israel, there is no God like you in the heaven, nor in the earth, which keep covenant, and show mercy to your servants, that walk before you with all their hearts. You which have kept with your servant David my father that which you have promised him, and spoke with your mouth, and have fulfilled it with your hand, as it is this day. Now therefore, O Lord God of Israel, keep with your servant David my father that which you have promised him, saying, there shall not fail you a man in my sight to sit on the throne of Israel, yet so that your children take heed to their way to walk in my law, as you have walked before me. Now then, O Lord God of Israel, let your word be verified, which you have spoken to your servant David. But will God in very deed dwell with men on the earth? Behold, heaven and the heaven of heavens cannot contain you, how much less this house which I have built. Have respect therefore to the prayer of your servant, and to his supplication, O Lord my God, to listen to the cry and the prayer which your servant prays before you. That your eyes may be open on this house day and night, on the place whereof you have said that you would put your name there, to listen to the prayer which your servant prays toward this place. Listen therefore to the supplications of your servant, and of your people Israel, which they shall make toward this place. Hear you from your dwelling place, even from heaven, and when you hear, forgive. If a man sin against his neighbor, and an oath be laid on him to make him swear, and the oath come before your altar in this house, then hear you from heaven, and do, and judge your servants, by requiting the wicked, by recompensing his way on his own head, and by justifying the righteous, by giving him according to his righteousness. And if your people Israel be put to the worse before the enemy, because they have sinned against you, and shall return and confess your name, and pray, and make supplication before you in this house, then hear you from the heavens, and forgive the sin of your people Israel, and bring them again to the land which you gave to them and to their fathers. When the heaven is shut up, and there is no rain, because they have sinned against you, yet if they pray toward this place, and confess your name, and turn from their sin, when you do afflict them, then hear you from heaven, and forgive the sin of your servants, and of your people Israel, when you have taught them the good way, wherein they should walk, and send rain on your land, which you have given to your people for an inheritance. If there be dearth in the land, if there be pestilence, if there be blasting, or mildew, locusts, or caterpillars, if their enemies besiege them in the cities of their land, whatever sore or whatever sickness there be, then what prayer or what supplication soever shall be made of any man, or of all your people Israel, when every one shall know his own sore and his own grief, and shall spread forth his hands in this house, then hear you from heaven your dwelling place, and forgive, and render to every man according to all his ways, whose heart you know, for you only know the hearts of the children of men. That they may fear you, to walk in your ways, so long as they live in the land which you gave to our fathers. Moreover concerning the stranger, which is not of your people Israel, but is come from a far country for your great name's sake, and your mighty hand, and your stretched out arm, if they come and pray in this house, then hear you from the heavens, even from your dwelling place, and do according to all that the stranger calls to you for, that all people of the earth may know your name, and fear you, as does your people Israel, and may know that this house which I have built is called by your name. If your people go out to war against their enemies by the way that you shall send them, and they pray to you toward the city which you have chosen, and the house which I have built for your name, then hear you from the heavens their prayer and their supplication, and maintain their cause. If they sin against you, for there is no man which sins not, and you be angry with them, and deliver them over before their enemies, and they carry them away captives to a land far off or near. Yet if they bethink themselves in the land where they are carried captive, and turn and pray to you in the land of their captivity, saying, We have sinned, we have done amiss, and have dealt wickedly. If they return to you with all their heart and with all their soul in the land of their captivity, where they have carried them captives, and pray toward their land, which you gave to their fathers, and toward the city which you have chosen, and toward the house which I have built for your name, then hear you from the heavens, even from your dwelling place, their prayer and their supplications, and maintain their cause, and forgive your people which have sinned against you. Now, my God, let, I beseech you, your eyes be open, and let your ears be attentive to the prayer that is made in this place. Now therefore arise, O Lord God, into your resting place, you, and the ark of your strength. Let your priests, O Lord God, be clothed with salvation, and let your saints rejoice in goodness. End of reading.